Scott Wetzel is not for everyone. For instance, sane people who can easily tell right from wrong or strongly urge to change the channel. Doctors Radio declared listening to Scott Wetzel can be hazardous to your health and can cause sickness, strokes, or wanting to take long walks on short piers. Feelings of agitation, dizziness, depression, frustration, and cold sweats are common when listening to Scott. You can have a bad reaction, such as confusion, redness in the face, teeth clenching, fist pounding, wanting to put a fork in your eye, and feeling the need to throw your radio out the window. Listeners have also reported increased swearing, trouble sleeping, and a strong desire to gamble. Truckers and drivers are urged to stay away. Learn from Jack from Arkansas. As for women, don't even think about it.
Oh no, my nipples clearly got erect.
You've been warned. Now, here's your host, Scott Wetzel.
And welcome to the Scott Wetzel Show on a marvelous Monday afternoon. Yours truly sitting in for the next hour and a half, 2 hours or so, taking a look at the world of sports right here on FanStreamSports.com, FanStreamSports.com, YouTube channel as well. How you doing on this marvelous Monday? Yours truly sitting in. Got a lot to get to today. Little NFL recap. We got some baseball, some college football news with the AP poll coming out for the first time today. A little WNBA news. You know, what would a day be without the bashing on the WNBA? We got some winners to get to. We'll review some of the things we did earlier last week and then even earlier this month. So a lot to get to over the next 2 hours, plus your tweets. Email me as well. Send a tweet at Opposite Picks. That's OPPOSITE Picks, P-I-C-K-S. Email me. Go to the website, OppositePicks.com. Hit the contact Scott icon and fire away. Don't forget, on YouTube, hit that like channel and also do that. So week one NFL preseason recap today. Who's number one in college football's AP? Scottie Scheffler, number one on the golf course. Dodgers and Red Sox, clearly number one on the baseball diamond. MLB second half over-unders update. How we doing so far? More college football over-unders to get to. And can you eat beaver? That's a question that was seriously proposed on TV this week. So we will get to all those stories and every Friday night or so in my bedroom. We get to all those stories, plus your tweets and your emails and everything else that we got going on this, again, marvelous Monday. What's going on, LLs, loyal listeners, LWs, loyal watchers? How are you on this Monday? Not a bad day here on Long Island. A little overcast, but that's okay. It's nice and cool. It's not raining. Rain last night, so we kind of puts a little coolness in the air. You know, no air conditioner today, which is always a beautiful thing. Anyway, a busy day. We'll start with some baseball. You know, why not? We'll get to the NFL certainly here in a second. Let everyone tune in that is going to tune in. Baseball, we got the 4-game series in Tampa finishing up today. How about the Devil Dogs? Maybe being swept for only the second time all year at home. Baltimore went in there over the weekend, won Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and now they got their best pitcher going today. So chance for the Red Sox to maybe gain some, not maybe, but definitely, gain some ground. Boy, they could have put a serious dent into Tampa Bay's lead in the AL East, but the Red Sox are the Red Sox, boy. I don't know what happened. Now I'm beginning to wonder which, it's funny. We thought they were going to be good. Started off lousy, basically gave up on them. Then they played great baseball for a month and a half. You know all the numbers. I won't regurgitate those. Thought that was the real team, and the first 2 months of the season was just whatever. Now we're back to being that whatever team. We're losing 2 out of 3 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, you just can't do that. If you want to make the playoffs and you're in a playoff race, and last week they were in a chase to win the division and win the best record in the American League, for goodness sakes. But that's all gone down the drain. They're 10 games back. They lose a series in Toronto, 3 out of the 4. I was encouraged. They won the last game. So I thought maybe, just maybe, that would carry into Pittsburgh against a mediocre at best Pirates team. They lose 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh. You just can't lose 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh. When you looked at the schedule, and a week and a half ago, and you saw last place Toronto and last place or next to last place Pittsburgh, I mean, you got to win in a 7-game series. You got to go 5-2. I mean, at absolute worst, because both are on the road, maybe 4-3, right? But you got to go 5-2 if you really want to make hay in the American League as far as the best record is concerned. And not only don't they go 5-2, they go 2-5. I mean, and they didn't even have to face Paul Skeens yesterday as Pittsburgh, dropped him from the rotation because of the issues he's having, which I'll get to here in a second. So it's been a disappointing, week and a half, 2-week run here because of what happened the previous 5 weeks. I don't know how a team can be so Heckle and Jekyll. I really don't. They come home, they're going to start a series against a red-hot Arizona team. This has just got disaster written all over it. Fortunately, they're playing in the American League, which absolutely sucks. We know that outside of, really the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays, or in the Devil Dogs. That's it. I mean, you want to throw the White Sox in there. I suppose you could throw them maybe in there. But other than that, but it's not. It's not, as a Red Sox fan, as I think you guys know, it's not whether they make the playoffs or not. It really isn't. I think they probably will. They got a 5-game lead. They could blow that for sure, but I don't want to lip into the playoffs. My goal this season was to win the World Series, or at least get to the World Series anyway. It wasn't to just make the playoffs like they did last. They did that last year, and then they lost to the Stankies, if you remember, the best of 3. I don't need to do that again this year. So if they're not playing great baseball, and they happen to make the playoffs, I'm not going to be that excited about it. I'm really not, even in this year's American League where anything can happen. But I don't like backing into things like that. I want to get in playing better. I mean, it sounds weird and it's not necessarily true. But I'd almost rather be playing really, really well and not make the playoffs than playing lousy and make the playoffs. I know that doesn't make any sense because anything can happen in these postseasons. Things can turn around real quickly. I get that. But it's just, I don't know, you play the roller coaster with this team this year and seeing them play so poorly now. Maybe coming home, maybe that'll help. I don't know. But how do you lose 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh? And then again, you didn't have to face Paul Skeens. If you had to face Skeens in one of those games, it'd be like, okay, you're going to lose that one maybe. But they skipped his start yesterday. And I'll tell you what, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'd begin to worry about him. This is where your season is falling apart. So for them to skip Skeens, as much as they babied him over the last 2 seasons, that's a big, that's they can't afford to give up any games. They're 60 and 65, 61 and 65, whatever. 3, 4, 5 games under 500. They're starting to fall out of the wild card race. You can't give up a start unless you know it's serious. And his ERA we talked about it over the last 16 starts. Now 5. Forget about 3 or 4. 5. I mean, his velocity has dropped, to well under 100 miles an hour after averaging 98 and change last year. 98, close to 99 as a rookie. So it's gone progressively worse each year. I don't know. He looked so good. He was great in college. It wasn't like he was a late draft choice and a blip on a radar screen and all of a sudden he got great. No, I mean, he was really good in college. So he was supposed to be good in baseball, the pros. He was for a couple of years. And then this year, I mean, could he have possibly run out of gas already? I mean, already after 2.5 seasons in the big leagues? Wow. So we'll see. I'm sure he'll probably start because there's no injury, at least not what Pittsburgh is talking about. But he only lasted 65 innings his last outing before they yanked him. So we'll see if he ends up pitching, 3 days from now when his schedule start is up again. But bottom line is Red Sox hit .230 basically on the road, less than $170 with runners in scoring position. Again, they only go 2-5, and they're probably fortunate to win those 2 games, if not for Sonny Gray. I tell you what, if this dude doesn't win the AL Cy Young Award, I know they disrespected him in as far as the All-Star game is concerned, but he's been there for the Red Sox all season long. I mean, and if you didn't realize that before, then you have to realize it now. He really has been great this year. He's not a bad, I knew he was pretty good. We looked up his numbers yesterday on when I was working over at the Sports Grid. And, he's not Hall of Famer, don't get me wrong. But, the splits on him, it's really not that crazy of a year this year. He's 35 games over 500 for his career. That's pretty good for a pitcher, especially pitching in basically a steroid era. I mean, his ERA is 3.5. Again, not bad. Pitching in the steroid era. He's been in the big leagues 14 years. He's only had 4 losing seasons out of 14. Again, that's you look at some Hall of Fame pitchers. There are a lot of Hall of Fame pitchers. I bet their splits are not 35. I bet it's less than that. Some of these guys that pitch forever. But he was 5-11 in 2016. He was 4-7 in 2017. And then he was 7-9 in 2021. So 3 years, not even 4, right? He was 10-12 actually in 2017. But yeah, 3 years, 3 out of 14 years. Otherwise, it's been 4-3, 14-10, 11-9, 11-8, 5-3, 8-5, 13-9, 14-8, 15-3. He just hasn't gotten, he needs about 3 or 4 more wins every year to be considered for the Hall of Fame, but he only has 140 wins, but only 105 losses. But again, 14 years in the big leagues, and he only has 3 losing seasons. That is a great, great ratio. Really is. Well, so, I bring it up just because he won, Saturday when the Red Sox were scuffling. And he has answered the call for the Red Sox every single opportunity, every single one. So it is amazing. But the Sox, they end up losing 2 out of 3. So they start a series against Arizona, which just lost 2 out of 3 to Atlanta. Braves, boy, I tell you what, Arizona's playing good ball too, and the Braves won 2 out of the 3. Diamondbacks are 17-12 since the All-Star break, 4-2 against the Dodgers and Braves. 2 of the better teams, obviously, in the National League. So this is not going to be an easy series for them. And then Arizona very, very quietly, right? Just kind of moving up the standings and doing what they need to do in order to get themselves into a playoff spot. Over the weekend, like I said, they do lose 2 out of 3 to Atlanta. San Diego and Cleveland, the Guardians/Indians won their 10,000th career or franchise victory on Saturday. Of course, they followed that up with a loss yesterday. Boy, they are scuffling. And the Padres, don't look now, but the San Diego Padres now 17-6. And they're starting to hit the baseball. They're not just winning games. You can still get some pretty good numbers on them. If you believe, like I do, the Dodgers are kind of opening the door for some teams to have some realistic World Series hopes. The Dodgers, we talked about Tampa Bay last week, right? At 16-1, which, oh, by the way, they're down to 11-1, even losing 3 straight to Baltimore. San Diego is still 55-1. You have to look at the Padres and say, all right, fast forward. And will they do well in a best of 3, best of 5, best of 7 series, right? That's where it really counts. That they could be good in the regular season. We've seen a lot of teams be good in the regular season, but, come playoff time, it just don't match up, right? The hitting does, if, big if, but if the hitting comes through and continues, I mean, Tatis, Jackie Merrill, Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Cronenworth, that's as good as, you could ask for realistically in Major League Baseball, right? It's the pitching. Do potentially they have the pitchers? Michael King, potentially better than what he's shown so far. Walker Buehler at this point is what he is. Randy Vasquez, They picked up Griffin Canning. Now, he's 1-3 since they acquired him, but and his ERA is well over 6. So I don't know what's happened to him. He was the guy that got from Washington, but he was terrific. But he potentially, but honestly, when you match up against Philadelphia and you match up against the Dodgers and you match up against Mizorowski, the Padre pitching is the one that's like, as good as their hitting can be, I don't see it, on the bump there. So, but still, 55-65-1, is it worth a shot if someone knocks off Philadelphia or Atlanta or the Dodgers? Yeah, that might be. Let them. Those odds aren't going to go anywhere. So I would say let a couple of more weeks go by and see how well the Padres are doing. But yes, because you got a good 20-1, right? Even at 45-1, 35-1 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So let's see. Let's get them into a playoff spot before we go too crazy betting on them. But something to definitely keep an eye on. Metsies won again. They're 9-3 since the trade deadline when they sold off literally about 7 or 8 guys. 16-12 since the All-Star break, and the Nationals are all but done. Well, they just put a gut punch to their team at the trade deadline when they traded away Garcia, one of their best hitters, and they traded away their best pitcher and Griffin to San Diego. So from that point on, boy, it just hasn't materialized. Listen, they were playing probably over their heads, but it was a good little year for them. And now they're 7.5 back. They're 6 games under 500. They've lost 3 in a row. They get swept by the Mets. And before you know it, they're going to be 10 games under 500. And they're going to be out of a wild card spot by 10, 15 games. And the season's going to be lost. The baseball season, man, we talked about it, just so darn long. Just so long. Amazing. How about the White Sox? Tell you what, the Tigers entered a series against the White Sox at home, 1.5 back. They sweep the series and they take over first place in the AL Central. The Detroit Tigers, the ones that traded Casey Mize and Tariq Skubal, right here they sit. Great opportunity at home. Not only don't they sweep the series, not only don't they win the series, they get swept in the series at home. The White Sox went into Detroit and took all 3 games. And just like that, instead of the Detroit Tigers being in first place, maybe, again, with a 3-game sweep, here they sit, and they are, 5.5 back in the standings, all but basically cooked. 6 games in a loss column. Well, you talk about making a statement this weekend. The goofy Chicago White Sox made a statement this weekend, going into Detroit and winning 3 in a row. Amazing. Miami won yesterday. We were all over Yuri Perez, who's turned into one of baseball's best-kept secrets, really pitching great. How about Joshua Baez? Boy, I was working in-game live Saturday, and that was an afternoon game, and we're watching. And here's a kid who's making his MLB debut down at AAA, good hitter, right? 34 homers, 90 RBIs down in Memphis, AAA Memphis for St. Louis. So they finally, I don't know what the hell took them so long, but they finally called him up. He's their number 3 prospect. Very first at bat, very first pitch, he hits a home run. Families in the stands, they're all going nuts, right? I mean, you talk about living a dream. The very first pitch. Next time up, home run again. 2 at-bats in the majors, 2 home runs. Only 2 other guys have done that in baseball history. Third time up, another home run. 3 homers in his first 3 at-bats. Not only that, his first homer went to center field, his second homer went to left field, and his third homer went to right field. I kid you not. I mean, you talk about just, a dream of all dreams. His 4th time up, he flied out to left field, relatively deep, but not quite to the warning track, but still a pretty good shot. He only got up 4 times, even though they scored, 11 runs or 9 runs? 9 runs. They only, they got up 4 times, unfortunately. But again, you talk about living a dream, right? I mean, that is just great. Families going bonkers. He did hit 4 home runs in a game one time in the minors, the mother said. But still, went on great. Again, if he's only the 3rd best prospect for St. Louis, who the hell are the first 2, right? If this guy's hitting 34 homers, 90 RBIs, he comes up to the majors, hits 3 homers in his first 3 at-bats, who the hell are the first 2 guys that they consider to be their best prospects in St. Louis? So the future certainly is bright for the St. Louis Cardinals. Maybe not this year, but for the near future, that is for sure. But some franchises just always come up with prospects. They just do. It's like Tampa Bay, same thing, right? They could trade 5,000 prospects. That's why we were talking about trading Skubal. If you wanted to take a little flyer, if you're Tampa Bay, you got 5,000 prospects. Every time you turn around, there's another guy from the minors for Tampa Bay coming up. So, and then the other series we wanted to discuss, Milwaukee. Again, not that I hate to, but I told you so with this Dodger trade for Tariq Skubal. Dodgers lose 3 out of 4 to the Brewers at home. At home, no less. They now trail Milwaukee for the best record by 3 games. Not insurmountable by any stretch, don't get me wrong. I'm guessing they lost the head-to-head series after losing 3 out of 4. I'd have to double-check. But I'm assuming they lose the head-to-head, so they're not necessarily 3 back. They're actually 4 back or 3.5 back. Because if it was a tie, Milwaukee would win the head-to-head tiebreaker. So yeah, they're 3 back. The Brewers are 77-48, and the Dodgers now 74-51. Not insurmountable, with 35 or so games left. But the Dodgers are also, as I told you on Friday, they're just a half a game ahead. Check that they're a half a game behind the Braves rather for third place. So they're looking at playing one of those goofy best of 3 opening round matchups. Only the first 2 division winners get byes. So they're sitting there in third place right now. They would face, you'd have to figure out who's the tiebreaker between Philadelphia and San Diego. But those Cubs are sitting in the number 1 wild card spot. And then the Phillies and Padres are tied for second and third. So if as we said on Friday, if the Phillies fall into that number 6 hole and they have to play the Dodgers, I'm telling you, with those 2 lefties, Luzardo and Sanchez on the hill, and the Dodgers' 500 record against left-handed pitchers, man, it is by far a foregone conclusion they're going to win the World Series or even get to the World Series. Now, they're in a funk like the Red Sox are. Plenty of time to break out of it. But we're not just, playing, we got a 7, 8, 9, 10-game lead in the NL West. Who cares, right? They do, but there's bigger fish to fry. You just don't. You just don't want to play in those best of 3s. You get all 3 teams at home or all 3 games at home, but, facing Luzardo and Sanchez or Wheeler in there, that's as good as the Dodgers have, not better, but they can go toe-to-toe with Cease and Skubal and whoever, Yamamoto, if they throw them out. I don't know who the 3, if they had everybody, the Dodgers, you get a good discussion. If everybody was healthy, and chances are they won't be, but if they all were, who would be the Dodgers, and they got stuck in this best of 3, who would be the Dodgers' 3 guys? You got to throw Yamamoto, right? He would have to be one, I would think. Then you would throw, if Ohtani is healthy, that's what we're talking, right? You got to throw Ohtani, I would think. And then the third one wouldn't be Robleski. It probably would be, I guess Skubal. You make this big trade. You emptied the farm system a little bit anyway for him. I guess it would be him. Unless you want to throw Blake Snell out there? There are going to be some guys with some, egos that are going to be challenged, let's just say, because they're not going to be pitching for the Dodgers. But anyway, they got to get there. And boy, the way they're scuffling, they're clearly looking at playing one of those wild card games. Again, I don't fully expect them to lose the division. They're still 7 up on San Diego. But nice job, believe it or not, by the Guards or by the Mariners. They ended up taking 2 out of 3 against Houston. Boy, they had been scuffling. They were 7-15 heading into that series. And they're playing at Houston. The Astros were playing good ball. Chance really for the Astros to really kind of separate themselves just a little bit with the rest of the pack there. And what happens? They end up losing 2 out of 3. That division's just destined to be whoever gets hot. Whoever gets hot at the end, right? Astros lead the Texans by 2, or the Texas Rangers by 2. Mariners by 4. They got themselves back in it. They lose 2 out of 3. God forbid they should get swept, and they would have been 8 back. They would have been done. Even missed maybe 6 back. But Astros are 1 game over 500. 1 stinking game over 500. It's amazing how bad that division is. It really, like I said, even the Texas Rangers, who just lost 2 out of 3 to the Angels. The Angels. And they're only 2 back right now. Oh, the AL is so bad. So bad. But we know that, right? We knew that going in. But you can't lose. If you're Texas, you go to Sacramento, you play just a god-awful A's team that's just, playing lousy baseball in last place, and you lose 2 out of 3? Really? Wow. They lost the Rangers, right? Battling Houston, and they're looking last week. They have a 4-game series against the Angels and a 3-game series against the A's, albeit all on the road. Man, you're thinking you got to go at least 5-2. right? I mean, maybe you lose one 4-game series. It's hard to sweep a 4-game series, right? Maybe you lose one with the A's too. I mean, you just have to go 5-2, 4-3, absolute work, and they go 2-5. Oh man, all these teams are going to have hope, in mid-September because they're all going to be playing as they are now, right around 500. But it's embarrassingly bad baseball. It really, there should be a rule if you don't finish at least 500, you can't make the playoffs. NFL, you get away with that every once in a while. Last year with Carolina. I don't know if it's ever happened in baseball. I kind of doubt it. That they've changed the rules obviously recently, allowing more and more teams in. But I don't remember a team with a losing record winning its division. Maybe the AL Central. I'll Google that and I'll double check that. During the break that we have coming up here, but. For a baseball team to finish the season under 500 and make the playoffs, that'd be a good little bet on these websites, DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever, right? Will a team under 500 make the postseason? I will say the answer to that is probably yes, but will a team win its division? So Chicago is 7 games over in the North or in the Central rather. They probably will finish over 500. It's the West. That would be the one. Is the West winner right now? It's 1 game over. So will a team, they'll make the playoffs just because you'll have, you have the Yankees, you have the Stankies, you have the Red Sox. And right now, the third worst team is the Texas Rangers at 61-64. So you're probably going to get a wild card team that's under 500 the way things are going. But will you get one to win the division? That's the $64,000 question. I'll take a peek at that during the break. All right, we will take a break. We'll come back. We'll check the NFL scene, preseason games, some thoughts on some of the teams, including our beloved Miami Dolphins, the Dolphins of the South, otherwise known as the Atlanta Falcons. We'll check in on them. Jets stink. We got the Giants situation, which doesn't look any good. And one of the guys I liked, actually had a good game this past weekend that I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on. I really would. And then the Dallas Cowgirls, they're all excited down in Dallas. They got 99-year-old Von Miller. We'll talk about that as well. Recap all our bets from this weekend. If you were with us Thursday and Friday, you ended up winning some money. What else is new? All that coming up on the Scott Wetzel Show on FanStream Sports.
Hi golfers, IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine, it's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the J.P. Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. fanstreamsports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tom's Town, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tom's Town, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go!
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on a Monday afternoon. What do we got? 2:31 or so Eastern time on FanStreamSports.com. FanStreamSports.com. Starting the program off with a little baseball. We'll get the football here in a second. Do have a little conversation going on our Twitter board here, which I call Twitter, which is actually our YouTube board. Hit that like button, that subscribe button, and fire away. You want to throw some comments out there. Tim up in Pittsburgh, Skeens appears to have arm fatigue. Pirate GM says that he's pitched a lot and references the College World Series. And as Tim points out, that was 3 years ago. You never have to worry about pitching into playoffs. And no, not with this Pirate team, unfortunately, Tim, because there will be no postseason. If you're referencing things that he's pitched 3 years ago in college, I mean, listen, he didn't throw 98 miles an hour, I imagine, in high school. So I'm sure he built himself up, but he also wasn't throwing 85 either. I mean, the dude's been throwing 90 plus miles an hour his whole life for the most part, right? So I don't know why all of a sudden, can he get fatigued 3 years into the big leagues? This is not 10, 15 years in. I mean, this is 3 years in, and they babied him like there's no tomorrow for this guy. It's not like they threw 200 pitches at him, or 200 innings in the first couple of years. So, I mean, as much as they babied him and he's still, declining, and we're what, 2/3 of the way through the season? 3/4, not quite 3/4, but 3/4. We got about 35 or so games, so 70 and 70, about 35. So 3/4 of the way through the season. We're not even into September, though. That's, you just, I wouldn't invest in him. I tell you, if I'm the Pirates, trading him sounds crazy, but also holding on to him and let him fade away and get nothing out of him. Just nothing. If you have some dopey team that's willing to give you, their top 1, 2, 3 draft choices, I wonder if they put him on the open market. It's one of those, like, why are you willing to trade him? It's hard to trade him year number 3. But as you get closer to arbitration eligible and you're the Pirates or the Marlins or the Guardians or one of these teams that can't afford these players or can't afford, they can all afford, they're all billionaires, the owners, but just don't want to pay them, then you have the excuse of, well, you know what, we want to get our most bang for the buck, and he's going to be arbitration eligible in 2 seasons, and we don't want to pay him $30 million a year, so he's all yours. But you don't really have that excuse now. You'd have to explain why you're willing to trade him. So Michael Grant, our guy from the podcast, Michael K. from the Yankee broadcasting team said Cam Schlittler should be the Yankee or should be the Cy Young. You know what, Michael? That's listen, I know we were in 2026, and I know the rules aren't the same with this stuff, but if you're sitting there telling me, and I know Michael a little bit from my days covering the Stankies, not a lot, to just, in reference, hi, how you doing, like one of those type of things. But if you're sitting there telling me with a straight face, a guy that's 10-6 should be the Cy Young winner over a guy who's 15-3, I don't know what to tell you. And the ERAs are similar. Schlittler has a little bit better, but Sonny Gray's is not over 3, where it's like, okay, he's just the benefactor of a bunch of runs. His ERA is 2.65. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Schlittler's is a little bit better, 2.19, but both are playing on real good teams. Sonny Gray is the ace of the Red Sox. Schlittler isn't, which means he's not being matched up against aces of other teams where Sonny Gray is. That's another little bonus. Cam does have a few more strikeouts, but I don't care. I don't care how you get it out. And my bottom line is I care about wins and ERA. And the ERAs are close, and losses. The ERAs are close enough, but the wins, 5 more wins and 3 more losses. You can't... if the roles were reversed, that's just a Yankee broadcaster being a Yankee broadcaster, which, whatever. I wish he would just say nothing rather than say something stupid, because if a 10-6 dude ends up getting the Cy Young over a guy who's 15-3 right now, I mean, that's just idiotic. You can't argue with a straight face why that would be the case. So, again, you want to be a Yankee broadcaster, you want to be a homer, that's what you get. Mark writes in, Scott, these guys throwing 90, 100 miles an hour is not sustainable. Stevens now, just a matter of time before Mizorowski. I don't know, Mark. We talked about this before. If you could throw 99, 100, in the case of Mizorowski, like 104, 105, for goodness sakes, then that's not sustainable in your 30s, but it certainly should be anyway sustainable in your 20s. Again, like with skiing, you shouldn't be running out of gas this early. You should be getting even more velocity, not the other way around. I mean, you're 23, 24, 25, 26 years old. You're getting stronger, not weaker. So something's goofy. Something's up, whether he's not doing whatever it took. He's got a good-looking girlfriend now, thinking about getting married. Maybe just being on the Pirates. He's depressed on being on a losing team. Although if he pitched a little bit better, as we mentioned on Friday, they would be right there. But so far, that's not changing. So Skeen's in a little bit of trouble. All right, as far as our football recap from over the weekend, where do you begin? All right, we touched on a little bit. Here are my thoughts on week number 1 of the preseason, and I do come up with some things. Right, Tennessee blows. We talked about it on Friday, so I won't regurgitate that too much. But that Titans team, I'm telling you right now, is not winning 7 games, and that's what the over/under is. I don't think they're winning 5 games. I don't know if they're winning 4, to tell you the truth. So if you want to use one of those adjusted numbers that the books now give you, I'd go as low as under 4.5. I don't think they get 5 wins. They had 3 last year. Their schedule is tough. They'd have to win every single, as we told you on Friday, every single toss-up game. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not in love with their head coach. It's a weird dynamic. The head coach is a defensive guy, and then he brings in Brian Daboll, who used to be head coach of the Giants when he was head coach of the Jets. So that's how they got to know each other. So they took a relationship that was probably more, as I told you, Giants are up here, Jets are down here in the New York, New Jersey area. So if the relationship was I'm Giants head coach and you're the Jets head coach, and now it's reversed in that I'm the head coach of Tennessee and now you're my subordinate, that's not a good setup. I'm not saying they can't work it out, but that's not a good setup. This Tennessee team's got 3 wins like they had last year written all over it. Atlanta Falcons are in trouble. I don't necessarily root against the dude. I really don't. It's more just I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. 2 tags down with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, there's a reason why the Dolphins let him go and ate all that salary cap dead space money. He wasn't any good. He hasn't been any good for a couple of years. I told you example after example last year. The guy can't throw a Hail Mary pass. They would have the football literally at midfield before halftime and not be able to throw a Hail Mary because he can't reach the end zone. They would do one of those dump off screens. They hid that from the public as much as they possibly could. The guy can't throw the ball 50 yards. I don't know what he's doing in an NFL uniform. Well, he's playing now because Michael Penix is hurt, and I don't know how long that's going to be before he can finally get his ass on the football field. But this Falcon team is just brutal with their quarterbacks. It's like anything else with all their head coaches. The talent is around them, but the quarterbacks stink. Tua goes 3 of 5 for 22 yards. And he dropped another ball from center. Another one. I don't know how many he has in his career, but I'm telling you, he's got to set the NFL record for most drop snaps from center. It happens every single stinking game, and it happens at the worst times of these games. We just kind of write it off as, yeah, I know that stuff's going to happen, and unfortunately it did. It did happen, and it happened again and again and again with Tua, and it happened again Friday night on the first snap from center. He dropped the ball. He can't even catch a lousy snap from center without screwing up. He's not any good. He's just, you talk about losing your fastball. That's Tua tags. And, here's a typical Tua statement after the game. He was asked about it. Man up. He met the media.
Definitely not up to standard. Not even up to par. We'll start with the first drive. Was the second play. Just being able to catch the snap. Little
second
things like
play,
that. Just thinking about it, like what we put out there is not a reflection of the hard work that we've put in the first 2 weeks, into training camp, and it does no justice for, the work that our coaches as well, have implemented. So, it starts with me. I got to be better with that. I thought off of that play, we kind of got out of the rhythm. I think we could have had a pretty decent play off of a screen going to B-Rob and kind of getting everything going from there. So. Starts with me, and I got to be better. That's it.
That's, listen, it sounds admirable. He's facing the media. He's saying it's me. It's not anybody else. That's why I don't dislike him, but we've heard that speech so many times as Falcon fans. It sounds like it abnormally, okay, it was just one of those off games, Scott. No, this is him. This has been him for 2 years. And he even said it, one bad play, all right? That's going to happen, you think, right? He's not capable of overcoming one bad play. He said it, off that one bad play, we thought we had something going there. We couldn't overcome it. You should be able to overcome one bad play. If you want to stick in the NFL, you're going to lose 3-4 yards on a bad snap every once in a while. Or you're going to get an offsides every once in a while. He's just not good enough. It's just, I wish he was better. Like I said, no ill will towards him. I would like to know, and maybe there'll be a Falcon guy that eventually, when they see the third and the fourth and the fifth drop from center when he's in shotgun, I want one of these guys to stand up and say, Tua, what are you thinking of? Because this dope over at FanStream says it happened all the time when you were with the Dolphins. And I looked it up. There were 15 times you dropped the ball from center on a shotgun snap. And now you've done it 2 or 3 times. Are you not concentrating? Are you blind? Can you not see the ball come your way? Do we have to put stick-em gloves on your hands to make you catch the football and then rip the gloves off when you throw it? I mean, what is it? What's causing you to drop the ball? A 5-year-old can catch that ball. And this guy does it once a game. I tell you, if Penix Jr. doesn't win that starting job, then this year, then really you just got to strip the whole thing down. Just you got a new head coach, Kevin Stefanski. He didn't do any wonders with the Cleveland Browns the last couple of seasons, clearly with their quarterback situation. But Like I said, if Penix can't do it, it's too bad because they are a win now team with the talent they have, and yet they don't have a quarterback. There's another club like that we'll get to here in a second, but that's the problem with the Atlanta Falcons. They're a win now team, terrific wide receivers, great running game, defense not too bad. They're in a bad division where this is the time to take control of the division, right? But they're just not. Cleveland Browns. Listen, we talked about this. What happened this weekend is no surprise. People act like, oh my God, this is crazy. It looks like it's going to be Deshaun Watson's show in Cleveland. He outplayed Shedeur Sanders. Of course he outplayed Shedeur Sanders. He's been in the league 7 years, for goodness sakes, versus a guy who's been in the league for 15 minutes. If you put him on 11 playing field, then there's no way that Shedeur Sanders is going to outduel Deshaun Watson as bad as Watson has been over the years, right? That's just the norm. So you have to figure out, forget about what Watson does if you're a Browns fan. What has Sanders done? Has Sanders done enough to say, okay, you deserve the shot to be the quarterback of the future because we really don't want Deshaun Watson to be the quarterback of the future. He's in the last year of his contract, and we don't want to have to pay him $35, $40 million a year after all the money we pissed away on him. We want you, Sanders. So as long as you come close, it'll be your job. But this weekend, against the Bears, Watson played the first half. They got 10 points. Nothing crazy. No touchdown passes. 11 of 15 for 126 yards. Sacked one time. No scrambles of anything of value. 4 yards, right? But Sanders was 6 of 11 for 79 yards and threw a pick. And it was a bad interception. Although the wide receiver kind of like threw his hands down. He thought it was, I guess, intended for someone behind him. But if you just looked at the two, you saw Watson as being the superior of the two quarterbacks, right? But neither one were particularly great. And, now there's talk of Watson really, really being securely in that number one spot. But they're unlike the Atlanta Falcons, they're not a team that's a win now team. They have the perfect scenario of let Sanders play and give him 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. Really give him half a season to figure out if you're going to be our quarterback at least this year. And then if that doesn't work out, then no Dylan Gabriel talk at all. You talk about a guy that's fallen off the map. He was the 3rd-round draft choice. His name doesn't even come up with the Cleveland Browns. But, all this like, oh, my God, Deshaun Watson is better than Sanders. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he be, right? I mean, here's Ty Monken, their head coach.
Was how comfortable he was leading up
to
this
is on Watson.
How comfortable he was in the huddle. Certainly there were things from a operational standpoint we can do better, but I wanted to see if he was enjoying himself. Was this still fun for him to play through the ups
$50 million
and downs?
a year.
I'm sure he's not happy about certain throws that he could have made, a couple of them, that would have extended drills. Sure he's thrilled about a quarterback sneak that we threw on him there to get a first down. But it was fun watching him play. It was fun.
So he answered.
So that's on Deshaun Watson, unfortunately. You wish that was on Shedeur Sanders, but it's not. This is the worst situation, although it could be the best. But it's a Browns head coach who's in his first year of being a head coach, and all he cares about is winning. Win, right? That's all, I don't care. I wasn't here for all the other Deshaun Watson nonsense and all the sexploits and all the masseuses and all that other stuff that has gone on. I wasn't here when you paid him $250 million for basically nothing. This is Brad. He gets a clean slate, but he doesn't get a clean slate with the organization, but it does with the head coach, who should know enough to just say, I don't want him, but the head coach wants to win. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. I mean, leave it to the Cleveland Browns. This guy's going to do halfway decent because he's a halfway decent quarterback. He hasn't been really his whole career with the Browns. It really went from right from the get-go, before all the off-the-field stuff. And I was a Watson guy. I wanted him for the Miami Dolphins. There was some talk about him going down to Miami. But he's been in the tank ever since he put on that uniform. And we've seen 1,000 guys in every sport always do well the last year of their contract because they know that's what's going to be based on their new contract. I wouldn't buy in. I just wouldn't. So Miami Dolphins, there are a couple of teams that really if you want to read into things, right? Cleveland Browns being one of them. You got a new head coach. You got a quarterback battle. You're taking on a veteran Chicago Bears team. Not necessarily a veteran head coach, but he's got nothing to prove this preseason. And what happens? The Browns lose. Dolphins got a brand new head coach, right? They want to turn the culture around. All this excitement, bringing in the Green Bay Packers from the north. And what happens? Not only don't they win, that they lose, and they lose by scoring 7 stinking points to the Washington Commanders. 7 points to a head coach who's got a history of not giving a rat's ass about the preseason. And the Dolphins still couldn't score after their first drive. They did score with their ding-a-ling quarterback, Malik Willis. So I'll give them credit for that. But this Cam Miller dude who they got from North Dakota State, he sucks. Quinn Ewers, he blows. I mean, the Dolphin offense was just non-existent. They threw for 109 yards, only 50-some after the first drive. Willis threw for 43. The other two clowns threw for a combined 66 yards in 3.5 quarters against a team that was resting everybody. As bad as Willis is, if he ever got hurt, God forbid, the Dolphins are just doomed. They're not getting 5 wins. I'd like to think they are, right? I mean, 5 wins is not a lot of wins. It's like 6.5. You got to go 7-10. You got to be really good to be 7, like really respectable to be 7-10. You can be pretty lousy and still go 5-12, right? But I don't see it, people. I just don't. And I try not to be a pessimistic fan. Could they win against the Raiders? Yeah, anybody could beat the Raiders, right? They're not beating San Fran. They're not beating Kansas City. I don't think they're winning against Minnesota. They're not beating Cincinnati. They could win against the Jets on the road. That's 2 wins. They're not beating New England or Detroit, even at home. Probably not beating Indianapolis, but we'll give them that one. But I think that Colts team was pretty good if Danny Nichols is still playing, right? And they beat them last year. The Colts did, 33-0, something stupid like that. Not beating the Bills. Let's say they beat the Jets again. That's 3. Not winning in Denver. Not beating Chicago. Not winning in Green Bay. Not winning against the Chargers. Not winning against Buffalo. And not winning against New England. We gave them the benefit of the doubt of 3. Maybe the only one that we did was at Minnesota. And that's going into Minnesota earlier on in the season, But we didn't give them that one. But we gave them the Raiders. We gave them a sweep against the Jets, and then we gave them the Colts on the road. That's still only 4 wins. You would still need to do that and still get one more really monster win. Man, I like to say otherwise, but watching those backups and watching those play, and I'm listening to the broadcast, right? I got the game on TV, so I got the Dolphin broadcast on, right? Want to hear what these guys say? Oh, they're waxing poetic justice on the Dolphins. Oh, about how great they are, and they got a great secondary, they got great this, and it's going to be, we'll take some lumps, but we got potential here. These guys are going to be so good. I'm thinking to myself, you got 7 points against the Washington Commanders. What are you talking about? How good they're going to be? They suck. How good they're going to be. They can't even score more than a touchdown against a team that's not even trying. And you're trying to tell me how good they're going to be? Giants quarterback situation. Jackson Dart already had to go to the tent for a possible concussion. And then he's crying about it afterwards. And I get it. And I'm not going to take him out of context like I've heard a lot of people do. He prefaced his statement by saying, listen, I understand what they're doing and I get it. And I said, he appreciates, they're looking out for the safety of their players. So he did say that before he then went on to say, I don't understand why they're so, aggressive with me and why I have to go into the tent all the time. Right. So I'll here's the answer, Dart. It's because you laid on the ground for 15 minutes before you finally got up. I mean, he got crushed. He was back to pass. He was scrambling around, and one of the Vikings, I don't know who it was, just buried him, right? And he laid on the ground like he was dead for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 5 seconds anyway. And that's all they need. That is all they need for them to throw the flag, in essence, throw the flag and pull you off the field. That's it. You got to get up right away. It's not right, because you could be dazed a little bit, for sure. You want to take your time getting up. But once they see that and you're a quarterback and you have a history like you do, that's it, man. I saw it with Tua tags. Off the field you come. And you got to get into that tent. Simple as that. So, yeah, get up. That would be the answer as to why, they keep on looking at you. He's an accident waiting to happen, Giant fans. He is. That's why I wouldn't bet, his over. The saying is you can never predict injuries, but in some ways you can. There are certain quarterbacks, certain teams, whether it's Joey B. I would never do an over-under with Joey Burrow just because of his, ability to get injured so easily, or Matthew Stafford or Tua tags or Jackson Dart. I just wouldn't. I would never bet a future. Maybe I wouldn't bet an under with the Giants, but I know I would. I would never bet an over. Unless you think, Jameis Winston, the backup, is a little bit better. You can make that case if you want to. The guy I like? I liked him coming out of college. I knew he had some work. I knew it wasn't going to be, I figured anyway, it wouldn't be instant success. But Anthony Richardson of the Colts, who's gotten buried, behind Danny Nichols, and he's clearly not in the Colts' future. They didn't pick up the fifth-year option on him, so this is his last year. I can't help but think they're trying to showcase him a little bit. Guy threw for 145 yards, ran for another 53, and a touchdown run. I think, he's another guy, kind of like with the Falcons, that he was thrown on a win-now team, even though he needed a couple of years' experience. And they didn't have that luxury of 1 or 2 years, all right, get your feet wet, learn the system, go play a little bit less than 500 football, and you'll be our guy, year number 2, 3, 4, and 5. He was basically thrown to the wolves. Good team. There's advantages and disadvantages of being thrown on a good team. The advantages are obvious. You could throw to real wide receivers and have a real running game and everything else, right? The disadvantage, though, is you're expected to win now. And when you don't, the veterans get all frustrated because they know their shelf life is wearing thin. Fans get frustrated because they think they should be a playoff team as they were before you got there. And you just aren't ready for that. So everything kind of gets thrown into a blender. And that's kind of how things went with Anthony Richardson, who clearly was inexperienced down in Florida. But, that is a quintessential game for him, or at least half. 145 yards passing, showing some potential. He scrambles 53 yards, and he ran for a touchdown. I would have taken a flyer on him if I was the Dolphins. I would be more encouraged if he was my quarterback than I would Malik Willis. So they ended up tying the Patriots to 13 all, but he looked halfway decent. We told you what we realized with Arizona, betting overs every single one of their football games. They scored 27 points. If not game total over, then certainly team total over. They're going to be able to score. They have some weapons. Their running back, Jeremiah Love, already got hurt, high ankle sprain, that's not good. High ankle sprains last for weeks, not days, sometimes months. So I thought that was a dumb draft choice by the Cardinals. They got plenty of running backs, so it won't hurt them too much. But that team's going to be able to score. If they can play any kind of defense, then they'll be okay. Then the excitement brewing with the Dallas Cowgirls. We saved the best for last. Yes. They went into Seattle, beat the defending Super Bowl champs. What was it, 17?
Up, everybody up, everybody up! Hey, let's talk about a couple things. Number one, that was a great team effort win, man. Outstanding. Hey, how about the second half defense? I think it was 4, 3 or 4 and outs. 4! Hey, and then we gave them the ball on like the 5-yard line, and y'all still kept them out. Outstanding. Hey, offensively, we were 73% on third down. Hey, and Cam Brown had 2 touches. And the best thing was we were able, as a football team, to finish the game on offense in a 4-minute, because no one can stop Joe Milton on a quarterback sneak. Yeah! Nobody can stop Joe Milton. Now, one thing we got to clean up. Penalties, okay? This is going to hurt. 11 penalties.
11.
103
penalties.
yards. Special teams, penalties, big play, muff punt. Okay? That game shouldn't even have been close. But I am proud of you guys. Everybody rolling in there. Everybody playing. Congratulations. Hey, Cam. Hey, Cam.
Hey, I appreciate y'all boys for real, though. Hey, we got a flight to catch.
That's all they
love
care
y'all,
about.
bro. Cowboys on me. 1, 2, 3. Cowboys.
Oh, okay. There you go. Little Dallas. Oh, who can stop that? How about those Dallas Cowboys? There's nothing better. You know, the Met fan is pretty close, you know, from my standpoint here, living on Long Island. But there's nothing better than having a disappointed Dallas Cowboy fan. They get their hopes. You know, they all say, unlike with the Met fan who just says they're going to win the World Series every single year no matter what. At least the Dallas Cowboy fan is realistic a lot of times. They say, no, we're going to suck, we're going to suck, we're going to suck. And then they get one preseason win against a team that clearly was not trying. You didn't get Sam Darnold. You got none of the starters. You know, that 3 and out is not a product of the Cowboys defense being good. It's a product of the Seattle offense not caring. They wanted nothing to do with this football game. They realized what it takes to win a Super Bowl, and winning preseason game number 1 is not on that list at all, right? But now the Dallas, the pessimistic Cowboy fan is now all in. Oh, my God, we beat the Super Bowl champs at their home field. We could do it in the regular season. Let's go sign 99-year-old Von Miller. The Reuter himself is coming to Dallas at a $5.5 million contract. Are you kidding me? 5.5. He was done last year. He's been done for a couple of years now. He's got nothing. I mean, you give a guy $5.5 million stinking dollars, 37 years old, man. But they're all in. See that's what I mean. They're all in. You know, they think they're going to go from not making the playoffs, being a disappointment, one preseason win. The head coach goes nuts. Brian Schottenheimer, who I like, I root for. And they're back to winning the Super Bowl this year. So it is kind of funny seeing Dallas fans, you know, get so excited about this. And again, they're going to throw a party over Von Miller. He's an injury waiting to happen. And even if he didn't get injured, maybe he gets sacks, maybe, you know, when it's 30-7 and the opposing team is throwing on every single down and he gets maybe 1 sack. That's of all the money that Jerry Jones has not spent, you know, including Derrick Henry over the years, right? And he's going to piss away $5.5 million on a 90-year-old defensive lineman. Really? All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll check how we did with the boys in Vegas. A little NFL preseason. If you followed us last week, we'll update our baseball over-under second half. We got 3 plays to give out. We'll recap last week's 3-pack that we give out every single day. And a little WNBA news to get to as well. Still a lot to get to. Hour number 2 coming up right here on the Scott Wetzel Show.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything. Turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStreamSports.com, FanStreamSports.com. You want to send a tweet, it is at Opposite Picks. That's OPPOSITE, Picks, P-I-C-K-S. Email me, go to the website, OppositePicks.com, hit the contact Scott icon, or SW, Little YouTube tweet as well. Join us on the YouTube channel, the Scott Wetzel Show. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and fire away as some of the guys have done. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, by the way, always give you a free little mention here. Got a couple of guys that have followed us. The Holy Hand Grenade is following us. Armando Salguero, reporter, is following us, and Roger Lodge, who is the host and producer of Blind Dates, an Angels pregame show, has joined us as well. So any of you guys ever want to be guests of the show, feel free. Just reach out to me. Generally, if you follow me, I'll follow you. Send me one of those chat things, notes, and be more than welcome to join me here on the program. So football, baseball still to get to with some of the winners. A little golf with Scottie Scheffler, and of course our pretty much daily now WNBA bashing. There was a meme, if you want to call it that, going out on Twitter this weekend, which is actually pretty funny. It really is. It's stupid on one hand, and then funny, on the other. So we'll start with our winners that we had from over the weekend, right? We were talking NFL during the break. So last week we gave you a bunch of trends. And, what I try and do, is just follow up on these trends and just see how they turn out for better or worse. Sometimes the trends work out good. Other times they don't. And it's always notable to see. And what you see come NFL season as well on Fridays, we'll run down every single game, and I'll give you trends for every single team of every single game. Kind of like an exercise in futility, but it is curious to see some of the better trends, and do they work, don't they work, and we'll kind of keep track of that. But it's a good NFL preview. If you like trends, then Friday afternoons will be the place for you right here. So over the weekend, we had games on Friday and Saturday before we had left you with the Thursday recap. So we had guys and teams that were going to play on or against coaches, right? Because certain coaches have great records in the preseason, others have stay away records, and teams as well. Same thing, right? So the play-ons, we were always going to play on Robert Salah because he was great with the Jets. We were going to play on John Harbaugh because he was great with the Ravens. And then we were going to play on the Cleveland Browns because there were a number of things that we look for in these preseason games that entailed, right? So we went 1-1-1 on those. Hit with Tennessee, lost with the Giants, and then lost with the Browns. Then we were going to play against 3 team coaches. Dan Quinn, awful in the preseason. Dallas, awful in the preseason. Tampa Bay, awful in the preseason. This was the one killer. We went 0-3. So our coaches' teams went only 1-4-1. All right, then we gave you, though, some underdog trends. And we said underdogs between 1 and 3 points covered 60% of the time. So we looked for 3-point or less underdogs. And then we gave you road dogs of 2.5 points or less, covered 75 of 108 games. So 75 and 38. A pretty good ratio as well there. So we look for those situations. The underdogs of 3 points or less went 5-1-1. Pittsburgh plus points, 1. New England plus 2.5, covered because they ended up being a tie. San Fran was the one loser. Chicago plus 1.5. They were dogs against the Browns, 1 outright. Jacksonville 3-point dogs, 1 outright. Giants was plus 3 when we gave it to you on Friday. It ended up going down to 1.5, 2.5. But I could only give you the number that I had, and that was plus 3. So you should have got a push. And then the Baltimore was plus 2.5 against Philadelphia. They won outright. So you went 5-1-1. Then road dogs of 2.5 points or less, we told you, right? Chargers, dogs on the road, 1 outright. Arizona, dogs on the road against the Raiders, 1 outright. Rams, dogs on the road against Kansas City, 1 outright. Carolina was the only one plus 1.5 against Buffalo that lost. So you went 3-1 there. So our dogs, if you will, went 8-1-1. That's pretty good. Then I told you I like to play on teams that have a game under their belt. So you had to double down on some of these, but Arizona plus 1.5, again, 1 outright, and Carolina. Carolina was a tough one because their backup quarterback got hurt in the first game. So Bryce Young played a little bit, so then they had to go to their 3rd and 4th starter. So it wasn't a smart bet, but, systems are systems, right? So you went 1-1 there. Then we went to the over-under. Remember what we told you? We said if the over-under is 37 or lower, you bet the over. If it's 37.5 or higher, you bet the under. And both of those hit like 60, 56% of the time respectfully, right? So 37 or less going over went 2-4. 37.5 or higher went under 7-3. The over losers on Saturday were the Rams game and the Eagles game because Philadelphia and KC just didn't show up. The Jacksonville game went over. And you got a split on Friday with Tampa Bay going over and the Dolphin game going under. And then on Thursday, the unders on Friday went 1-0. The Denver game went under 38.5. And then on Saturday, you went 2-2, hitting with the Dallas under and the Giant under and losing out on the Carolina and Cleveland unders. So 7-3. If you add them all up, Scott, how do we do? So if you add them, the over-unders went 9-7. The trends went 8-1-1. The play on and play against went 1-4-1. If you played every single game, you had 35 bets. You went 20-13-2. Not bad. That's pretty darn good. 7 games over 500, even with the VIG. So, every 35 games, I go 20-13-2. You will win money. You will definitely win money. So, not bad. I'll figure out some more trends for this week number 2's game. You still got some of these anyway that we'll play. But then there are certain teams that play a little bit better in week number 2. This is the most you'll see of a real team. Right? Like nobody plays their starters week 3 for the most part because they don't want to risk injury. Week 1, it's too soon. There's too many guys on the field that shouldn't see the light of day. It's this week that if you're going to get the starters playing at any point, that this is when it's going to be. This will be the most real that you'll get. So we'll dig up some trends for these. Baseball wise, Here are baseball numbers. Now, I gave you a bunch of second half over-under totals just after the All-Star break, or really, during the All-Star break, right? So here's how we ended up. Let me just go to not how we ended up, but how we're doing, I should say. So we gave you what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 overs and 3 unders. All right, the overs, the ones that are looking pretty good. Over 81.5 Red Sox, they're 66 and 58, which means they got to go 16 and 22 the rest of the way. They're struggling, they are, but I'm pretty confident they'll go 16 and 22 the rest of the way. So that should be a win. Over 82.5 White Sox, they're 65 and 58, which means they have to go 18 and 21 the rest of the way. They're 7 games over 500. I think, that should be. Well, some of these are shoulds. Some of these are locks. I don't have really any locks, that would take a minor miracle. But that should be a winner. That's looking pretty good. Milwaukee Brewers, we told you, over 94.5. They're 77 and 48, which means they have to go 18 and 19 the rest of the way. Chances are pretty good. A team that's almost 30 games over 500 will find a way to go 1 game over under 500 the rest of the way. So that's as good as a lock. Over 79.5 Houston. They're 63 and 62, which means they need to go 17 and 20 the rest of the way. All right. But no, that's certainly doable. I'd rather have the over than the under with that bet. They're playing a lot better baseball now. And then Miami, over 82.5. They're 64 and 61. They got up to an awful, just a brutal start to the second half of the season. But they still now only need to go 19 and 19 the rest of the way in order to get to 83 wins. So I'd rather be on the over than the under. They're a good baseball team. Wish they wouldn't have had that, like 9, 10 game, would they lose 8 in a row, 9 in a row, 10 in a row, whatever it was. I think it was 10 in a row, right? Well, even if they could have gotten like 3 and 7, we'd be that much closer. But it is what it is, 19 and 19. So there are 5 there that, I like the side we're on. Now, these next 3, we're probably going to need some help. Over 89.5 Phillies. Well, I didn't think they would get off to the start they got off to a second half of the season, which was awful. They're 67 and 58, so they need to go 23 and 14 the rest of the way. Could they? Yeah, it's going to take them really, playing some decent baseball, but we've seen them do that, so I'm not writing this off as a loss. It's not going as well as we thought. They got to obviously turn it on now. We got over 100.5 LA Dodgers. I don't know what the hell's happened to them. They're 74 and 51. They need to go 27 and 10. Are they capable of that? Yeah. And they are in the battle now. It's not like they're not playing for anything to get into that wild card or get out of that wild card play-in game spot, which is what they're in right now, right? If the season were to end today, they'd be playing that goofy best of 3. So there's a reason for them, to win. We just need a classic, even like an 8-9 game win streak, you'd still need them to go 18 and 10 the rest of the way. It's not going to be easy, but not giving up hope. And then probably the worst one that we have left is this dopey Seattle Mariners team. Over 82.5. They're 59 and 66. Just haven't turned it on. They need to go 24 and 13 the rest of the way. Not impossible, but there's just no reason to think all of a sudden they're going to be going, balls out and play that well. So I'm kind of counting on that one as a loser. But we got 5 pretty good winning spots. We got 2 Phillies and Dodgers. We're not losing out hope. And then we got 1 with the Mariners that, not impossible, but it doesn't look good. The 3 unders we gave you under 71.5 Mets. Now, they've been playing good baseball. They have. 9 and 3 their last 12, but they're still 56 and 69. They still would need to go 17 and 20 the rest of the way. Their schedule is very difficult. I don't think they do. I think that nice little run, but reality is going to hit them in the face sooner or later, and they're not very good. Their main guys are hurt. I don't know how the hell they're playing so well. It's just clearly been an addition by subtraction. But that's why that number was so weird to begin with. As well as they're playing, they still need to play 500 baseball. I don't think they do. So I'm okay with that one. Under 63.5 we gave you with the Colorado Rockies. They're 50-74. They would need to go 14-24 the rest of the way to get to 64 wins. I'm okay with that one. That's going to be a close one. It's going to go right down to the wire, but I think we can win that. They're more than capable of going 14 or going 13-25. That's for sure. And then probably the worst one, the Atlanta Braves, under 91.5. They're 74-50. But have been playing good ball. They've had a couple of series where things haven't worked out, but they need to go 18-20 the rest of the way. Probably will, right? But again, not giving up hope. You never know. So looking pretty good with 5. And then we got 5 more that are like 50-50s. And we can go 2-3, 3-2 with those. And then we'll probably lose the Seattle one. So we're looking at going like, 7-4-1 or 7-3-1, which I'll take that if need be. They're not the worst thing in the world. So once a week, we'll try and take that out and update those things, either on a Monday or Friday heading into the weekend. But and I don't like throwing things out there and just kind of forgetting about them, never be accountable for them. So we'd like to be accountable whenever possible here on the show. As far as our betting with the boys in Vegas last week, we finished up 26-13-1 over the last 3 weeks or so. Good for $100 better is good for $1,150. Not bad. Not bad at all. So we got a 3-pack for you. We try and give you 3 every single day. We'll give you 3 right now. I'll take the Atlanta Braves. Minus 120 at Minnesota. Let me just double check the lines because sometimes these do change. I put that on there a couple of hours ago. Atlanta at Minnesota. Yeah, minus 120. 122, 120. Perez on the hill against Ober. Braves they've been playing good. They have, not going to let a season bet, dictate what I should do game in, game out. But Atlanta's been playing well. Minnesota had their 15 minutes of fame. And now that they've tailed off a little bit, they're not any good, the Twinkies. They're not. So you want to give me a hot Braves team, I'll take my chances with Atlanta. I like the White Sox too. Listen, they just swept Detroit. They're playing terrific baseball. They've opened up a nice lead here in the AL Central. They're taking on the rival Cubs, who just lost 2 out of 3 to mediocre at best St. Louis. You want to give me plus 145? I will definitely take that. I think I got the better team, or at least the equal team. Obviously, a lot of hype in this series. It is in the Cubs at Wrigley Field, not in the White Sox Park. But you want to give me $145, $150 with a first place team? I got Luis Castillo on the hill for the Cubbies, Imanaga on the hill for the White Sox rather. Imanaga for the Cubs. I don't do this too often, but that's a good value pick, right? I hate that phrase. I hate that whole expression because that tells you really don't like it. You're just doing it because the number is enticing you. But I'm not really doing it because of that. I like this White Sox team, man. Like I said, they're playing good ball. Cubs necessarily aren't. But the bonus is I'm getting plus 145, 150. So I'll take it. And then I'll play Golden State later on tonight. The Valkyries against Dallas. This Golden State team is kind of like the, who are they in Major League? They're like the Tampa Bay, Devil Dogs of Major League Baseball. They just don't get any respect. Tampa Bay doesn't, just because of a long, long history of being awful and not really having any superstar notable players, although this year they kind of do. But Golden State's only been in the league a couple of years. No one's supposed to be this good, so you just don't get the respect. Yet they got the second best record in the WNBA, only 2 games behind Minnesota. They got a better record than the defending champ, a much better record. They got a better record than the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. They got a better record than the New York Liberty. They're 24-9. Minnesota's 29-7. Next best team, the Aces and the Fever, both had 12 losses. So they have the second best record. And Dallas comes to town, and they're okay. Dallas, they're 20-15. But if this was Minnesota or Las Vegas or Indiana, then they would be a 7.5, 8.5, 9.5 point favorite. You're getting them only at 6.5. I will take that. I think they're a great cover team as well, Golden State. So I'll lay the 6.5 against the Dallas Wings at home for Golden State. So our 3-pack, again, 2 baseball, 1 WNBA. Limited baseball schedule today. We got Atlanta, the Braves, minus 120 against the Twinkies. We'll take the White Sox plus 145 against the Cubbies. And actually, let me just double check this. Some sites are saying $1.50. I'll use FanDuel sites just because I'm looking at it right now. White Sox are up 146. Yeah, so we'll say 145. 145 against the Cubs, and then we'll take Golden State laying 6.5 against Dallas. So 3-pack of winners. Again, $100 player is up $1,150 if you've been following us over the last few weeks. So hand those out every single day. All right, a couple things to get to here. I see, I used to vote. I won't make it like I voted every single year, but I did vote one time for the Heisman Trophy about 6 or 7 years ago. I don't even remember who I voted for. I was back at the 3-letter network working over on the Mad Dog channel, and I got a chance to vote for the Heisman Trophy, which is pretty cool, right? So I didn't even know this last year, but last year I guess they had a vote for the fan. For some reason, I remember trying to get the vote. You had to reapply every single year, but a total of 870 media members get to vote. There is 931 voters because all the former living Heisman Trophy winners get votes as well. And I guess starting last year, they allowed the fans to vote, and that equaled 1 vote. So I mean, it's like next to nothing. So why even bother doing it, right? If you got basically 1,000 voters, the fans being 1 of 1,000, does it really count, right? Well, this year, apparently it does, because this year they're taking it a step further. Somehow or another, they're now allowing you, the fan, to vote during the season, throughout the season. I didn't read it closely enough. It just broke before we came on air, but it makes it seem like you could vote 1,000 times if you want to, kind of like the baseball all-star voting. And then it all gets tabulated and it gets weighted somehow or another, some secret formula. They're going to weight your vote on when you voted and how you voted and where you voted. It's all for 1 vote out of 1,000, basically. 932, I guess this would be, right? I mean, they're going through way, way too much effort for 1 out of 932. I mean, really. So fans can now vote. Last year, again, I don't remember this. Although the more I think about it, the more it kind of rings a bell. But they're saying we had a vote last year. And last year, the top 3 people that the fans voted for, Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez won the fans' vote. Emmett Johnson of Nebraska finished 2nd, and then Fernando Mendoza, the overall winner, finished 3rd. Is that Jacob Rodriguez won the fans' vote? That just goes to show how stupid it is, right? I mean, it was a good player, but you could have named another of other players on the offensive side of the ball that would have gotten a vote. I don't remember that. I really don't. But now they're going to weigh it, like I said, through the course. Just bring attention to it, which I guess is the goal. But what's the point? So you can be 1 out of 932 votes. Like that's really going to matter that much? I don't think so. I wouldn't think so. NBA news. So the league apparently has found no evidence showing that Clippers owner Steve Ballmer funneled money through his sponsors, who he owns, to pay Kawhi Leonard. So the Clipper deal to the Toronto Raptors, I expect to get done sometime soon once the NBA makes this official. But this is the NBA. This is the difference between the NBA, maybe the NFL, and like the dopey WNBA or Major League Baseball. I mean, you can't sit there with a straight face. The guy, Ballmer owns some of these companies that is sponsoring the Clippers. Okay, that makes sense. And now those companies are also sponsoring Kawhi Leonard, and they can't find any ties. Somehow or another, they can't find any ties between Ballmer and the company, even though he owns part of it, and the company and Kawhi Leonard. I think this was a matter of he said, she said, in that neither side was giving in. And Ballmer and his people and the company just said, no. Listen, here's proof. We paid the guy from our own money. I don't know how you can think you can't prove that. And I think that those people stuck to their guns. And I think the NBA kind of stuck to their guns and said, no, there's no freaking way you paid this guy $20 million to be the sponsor of some stupid company, right? And I think it got to the point where, the commissioner, Adam Silver, for all his faults, just said, we can't have this. We just, can't have it. We got a major trade that's in limbo. Teams don't know what to do. It's a bad look for the NBA. We don't want this to happen during the season for sure. So we got to get this done. And you know what? It's one of those for the NBA. We tried. We failed. Clippers weren't folding their cards. People at the company weren't folding their cards. They weren't wilting. So we just got to accept the fact. I don't know why they went balls against this, pardon the pun, because I'm sure this stuff happens all of the time, right? So I don't know what it was about this one that got them so ticked off that they, did this investigation, but they couldn't prove it. And I think the NBA just said, that's it. We give up. Let's just move on. Bigger fish to fry. We got this WNBA thing that's hanging over our head. We got to figure this thing out before we can, necessarily deal with this stuff. So that's good for the NBA. Just move on. And now the Raptors will look that much better. And now the Eastern Conference, if this trade does go down, and no reason to think it won't, now you throw the Toronto Raptors into the equation. Man, the Eastern Conference is going to be just loaded. Just absolutely loaded. Amazing. All right, we'll take a break, come back. We'll get to the WNBA for sure. Fever winning last night. The dopey commissioner making some idiotic statements. Joe Montana making an interesting statement. And do you even that was posed today or yesterday on Twitter? We'll get the response when we come back. Scott Wetzel Show on FanStream Sports.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. FanStreamSports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka. Named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStreamSports.com. FanStreamSports.com. Following us on our YouTube channel, the Scott Wetzel Show. Hit that subscribe button, like button, and fire away if you have any comments to discuss on some of the things. Or send a tweet at Opposite Picks. That's OPPOSITE, Picks, P-I-C-K-S. Email me. Go to the website, OppositePicks.com. Hit the contact Scott icon. Or just SWOppositePicks at yahoo.com, as our good buddy Gordo has done. Scotty, what made yesterday's game in L.A. interesting is that the Brews starter was the piece Detroit wanted in a Skubal trade. I've seen 5 or so of Logan Henderson starts, and I think Milwaukee was right not pulling the trigger. Great movement on his pitches, plus they never ousted the big market for Skubal long-term. Or outbid the big markets for Skubal in the long term, so he would have been a rental. Yeah, he would have been. No two ways about it. But sometimes I would not have given up on Henderson either. But Gordo, you just look and see what the Dodgers ended up giving up. Like, they didn't give up any of their pitchers. They didn't give up Wroblewski or none of the guys that have been in the majors. These were all minor leaguers. So maybe they were asking for Henderson. But if you're Milwaukee, you got to find, you got to come up with a package that beats the Dodgers. I'd really like to know the best offers Detroit got from each team, and let's evaluate them. And is there an insider that really has that information? And I can't help but think that somebody was offering more than what the Dodgers did. There's got to have been a package of 2 or 3 Brewer prospects that, would have helped them. I would think, versus, having to give up a guy like Henderson, like you said, that's, a proven starting pitcher. But, they got him somehow or another, for better or worse. And now they're 0-3, by the way. So not only aren't the Dodgers winning, they're actually 0-3 in Skubal's 3 starts with them. That's how baseball is, though. He could pitch well, give up a couple of runs. Like, he hasn't pitched poorly in any of them. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win. It takes so much to win most baseball games, right? You could have one guy go 8 innings, but that's just not the norm anymore. You need a starter that goes 5 or 6 innings, and then you need 2 or 3 relievers that can carry into the ninth, and then you need a closer that's going to shut the door. You need all those pieces in order to win. And, sometimes you can get away without having all those pieces. Sometimes you can have a starter that's just mediocre. And maybe he's going to, allow 2 runs in 5 innings, which is an ERA well over 3, or maybe 3 runs in 5 innings, but still keep you in the game. Then your bullpen comes in and shuts down the opposition and allows you guys to take advantage of the opposing team's bullpen. And all of a sudden you got a 3-3 game heading into the ninth, and it's anybody's contest, right? So it's, on paper, Skubal should make any team better, but it's not like an NBA team picking up a 30-point score, or a football team picking up a wide receiver, or whatever the case may be, right? In hockey as well. It takes so much in baseball. It's one of the best things about it, I guess, and one of the goofy things about it. So, saw this on Twitter. This is pretty, he wasn't very good as an announcer, kind of like the Dan Marino. When they put Dan in the broadcast booth, he really just didn't look comfortable. And when they put Joe Montana in the broadcast booth, same thing. Sometimes you get put in with 5 different guys, and it's a case of less is more. If you got a Joe Montana or Dan Marino, one of the all-time greats not a Dan Orlovsky or Ryan Clark. Boy, I don't need much more than that. That's all. Give me one, maybe one other guy that he could bounce some things off of. But it's hard to mesh when you got you're one of six. So anyway, he showed a little. He was doing a podcast with somebody, I'm not sure who, and he actually showed a little personality.
I don't
thought
know
this
what
kind of funny.
made me do it. One day, I hung up and I'm sitting there going, I wonder if these things call out. So I picked up the phone. I hit. What do you do normally? Hit 9, right? Gives you an outside line. I hit 9. Got a dial tone. I dial my house.
And the phone would ring. I'd pick it up, and it'd be Joe.
Wife.
I go, what are you doing?
I go, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? What do you do? Who is it? What are you doing? Where are you calling me from?
He goes, I'm calling you. I'm calling you to say I love you. And I go, oh, I love you. How are you calling? He goes, they have an outside line. I check in every stadium.
I go, I'm on the sideline phone. I found out that it calls. So I thought I'd give you a call since I'm just sitting here waiting to go on the field.
How funny is that? Like that stuff you would have never have gotten when he was, being an analyst. So kind of goofy. Joe Montana. That's our proverbial Notre Dame clip. Normally it's the Irish. We'll use a former Irishman as we do at least one Notre Dame story every single day. All right, time for the WNBA. We can't put it off anymore, right? So the Fever, Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, that they beat Atlanta last night in overtime, including Angel Reese. CC Clark goes for a team high 26 points, gets a team high 9 assists, and the four-letter network doesn't make her the star of the game. You know how they have, if you go to the box scores, they'll list like the top player of each team. They don't list Caitlin Clark. WNBA sends out a tweet, mentioning the game, a great game, Indiana wins, right? Gives like 2 or 3 paragraphs. No mention of Caitlin Clark. She's got a team high 26 points. She has a team high 9 assists. And somehow or another, they don't mention her. But they're all over Angel Reese. Oh, my God. Despite Angel Reese missing layup after layup after layup after botch shot. I mean, this broad couldn't hit a layup if it saves her life. She had an uncontested layup she missed. I mean, she is just brutal. She can get rebounds, and half of them are on her own misses. No joking, right? But they're all over Angel Reese. Oh, man, Angel Reese this, Angel Reese that. Angel Reese played on the losing team. She was like 3 of 10 shooting. I got the winning player on the winning team having a great game, and they didn't mention her. I've never seen a league. Forget the four-letter network doing what they did, right? Maybe that's just a computer. I mean, I don't know what kind of computer would spit out the highest score and the highest assist person, but whatever. Stupid, though, right? Maybe they'd use that as a way for you to hit the box icon because you want to see what Caitlin Clark did. But why in the world would the WNBA not, if they're going to send out a tweet on this story and you're going to give a recap of the story, you don't mention Caitlin Clark? I don't know. I've never seen this. I am just so, like, every time I think I've seen the worst, there's always something. It's undeniable. That's why someone's got to stand up. The next time the dopey head coach goes off on, or Stephanie White goes off on one of those, anti-media, anti-public, stance, like it's all our fault, like we're coming up with something out of nothing. They got to bring this stuff up. They got to say, hey, Stephanie, the WNBA put out a 30-year anniversary poster. They had 4 or 5 current players, and they didn't choose, Caitlin Clark as one of them. They have recaps of your games in which Caitlin Clark is the leading scorer and assist person, and they don't mention her name. This is why we talk about how it seems like the league is against you or your team or Caitlin Clark. It's not just something thrown out there out of the blue. We got 1,000 examples of just stupid stuff that the first person in promotions wouldn't make that kind of mistake. Honestly, it is so. I don't know, man. I just, is it because she's straight and everybody in the league are lesbians? Is that it? Maybe. I told you about that story from back in college. I don't doubt that. I don't know if the commissioner is a lesbian or not. I know most of the women head coaches are. I know nearly all of the players are. I don't know if that's it, but it's just unbelievably stupid, or there's another reason. You decide. I'm not telling you which one. They're either extremely dumb, and I find that hard to believe, or there's just another agenda that says they don't want to promote her. I don't understand it. I just, 28 years, and people want to talk about, the players want to talk about how, we made our mark and they wouldn't be here today if not for us, and this and that and all that mumbo jumbo, right? For 28 years, the WNBA was invisible. Invisible. It's only visible now because of Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers has come into the equation. Coincidence they're white? I don't think so. But there have been white star players. Ella Deladone, white. Nescu, white. Sue Bird, white. There's been a lot of white star, superstar Hall of Fame players that still have not been able to bring this league to the level where it is now. It's been stuck in mediocrity. Right? I looked it up. I did. If according to one site anyway, top 25 WNBA all-time players, half were white. Dinah Taurasi, white. Brianna Stewart, white. Sue Bird, white. Deladone, white. Ionescu, white. Becky Hammond, if you want to go back that far, white. So there have been good players. This is not just a one, and that's why if the black player says, oh my God, this is our league, and we've done, no, that's not the case. It's been a 50-50 thing. NBA, no. I'm right there with you. But WNBA, there have been just as many white superstar players as black, if not more. So, but it's been just dying a slow death. 28 years with all those great players I mentioned. Those are really, really good, popular players, right? And it still hasn't made a dent in the mainstream until Caitlin came along. And why they would be so jealous of her, I was watching some of these clips on YouTube about these women. I think the four-letter network had a 30 for 30 on one of the players. I forget who it was, talking about how, she struggles and this and that. And it's not a full-time job for her. But now it can be because of what? Because of Caitlin Clark. Simple as that. Simple as that. And yet they hate her. It is the most strangest, bizarrest thing I've ever seen, that you just scratch it off to just jealousy, or she's not one of us. Is that it? That must be it, right? She's not one of us. She's not a lesbian. I guess that's where it all boils down to. And then you got the man-white issue, or the man-female issue, right? So I didn't see this at the All-Star break a couple of weeks ago. I guess Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, the dope that she is, right, had a talk about, allowing black or a men in the league, the Enos Cantors of the world, and what are they going to do, and this, that, what have you. So someone sent out a meme that's catching fire on Twitter. And hold on a second. Here we go, which is pretty cute.
Not a biologist. How can I be expected to define what a woman is? If you think you know how to tell the difference between a man and woman, please speak up.
Boys have a penis. Girls have a vagina.
Look at the kid. I mean, she actually said that.
I am not a biologist. How can I be expected to define what a woman is? If you think you know how to tell the difference between a man and woman, please speak up.
Boys have a penis. Girls have a vagina.
How great is that? That's making the rounds on Twitter, X. She's she was serious though, as far as Engelbert. Like she's lost. She's clueless. Really? You're that clueless that you're willing to tell the world, I'm such an idiot, I don't know the difference between a man and a female. I am so caught up into the woke community. I am so afraid being surrounded by all these lesbians that I'm afraid to say who's a man and who's a woman. Really? Really? Wow. And then of course that is a great that is a great meme with the little kid raising, pumping his arms up in the air. Oh, if this broad doesn't resign at the end of the year, between her and the head coach, both of them, maybe they should go both run off and be lesbian lovers. Then, of course, we have our good buddy, Bruce Jenner.
You're in, XY, you're out. It's that simple. And I think are doing a good job just to show the WNBA how...
Look at that. Let me stop that. Let me just... I mean, this... For those that don't remember, this was one of the most decorated, celebrated sports stars we've ever seen at the Olympics, 40 years ago, Bruce Jenner. Winning the decathlon and all the awards and the parades for him. He was as big can be, with the Olympics especially, right? I mean, and now look, now he's just a freak show. I mean, what in the world? But he's talking about, as freaky as I am, I'm still basically a man.
Going on here. We have to protect women's sports. I have been coming on this show for years and years. I want to protect women's sports. Right. Title IX was one of the greatest legislations, and it was over 50 years ago, for women's equality. It happened to be in sports. But look at what it's done for women's sports. I don't want that to be ruined by letting biological men come in and play in women's sports. XX you're in, XY you're out. You can go play with the men.
There you go. See, the announcer, I didn't see the whole interview. The announcer should step in and say, like you mean? And I think he would have just said, yeah, like me, the freak show that I am. Yes, I should not be allowed to play in the WNBA. But man, does he look weird, huh? Wow. It's too bad because, like I said, he was, I'm trying to think who could we compare? I mean, he was as popular can be, right? There really haven't been that many popular Olympians. If you want to throw out the basketball and the hockey guys, right? Like the track and field guys, a couple of guys, would emerge. The swimmers obviously would emerge, but none of them really made it mainstream, right? The Mark Spitzes of the world. I'll date myself. This guy leapfrogged all those. He was as big as the Joe Montanas. Having him, 30 years later, whatever it was, come out and say, no, I'm really a woman, or I think I'm a woman, or whatever I'm acting like a woman, But he would be the perfect guy. That's I don't know how far I should really dig up that interview, but he would be the one because, like I told you, when he made this transition, it's probably been a good 5, 6, 7 years, if not longer. I do remember them asking him, so you're attracted to guys? And he's like, no, I'm still attracted to women. Oh, okay. So you want to pretend to be a woman, but be a lesbian woman. Okay. Might as well just stay a man, right? I don't think he actually had the full operation and all that other stuff. And I think he just dresses up, right? And if that's your, float your boat, if that's really what you want to do, knock yourself out, I suppose. But, and I think that's further proof about, some of these women who are transitioning and, transgender. Really? Are you really cutting your penis off? Really? I got to see that, then I'll believe you. If you're willing to go that far, then I'll believe you. But you still shouldn't play because it's not changing your genes any. That's for sure. All right, I got some more college football over-unders. We're almost done. I got about another 30 or so. We'll do those tomorrow. Then I'll delve into it a little bit more, take all the ones that we've given you, and then, kind of go from there. So I got 3 overs and 4 unders. Going to go over 3.5 Oregon State. I got them going 6-6. 3.5. You got to be pretty bad to be 3.5. They're in that new Pac-12. I think they can get 4 wins. So yeah, I like them. I like over 3.5 Rice as well. 6-6, same thing. I got them at 6-6. I'm not asking for a miracle here. Just play 500 football. I don't think that's asking too much. And I'll go over 5.5 Rutgers. I got them at 7-5. I usually look for 2.5. But initially, I do like Rutgers. I'll delve into that a little bit more. A lot of times, if it's 5.5 plus money, I'll take that versus the 4.5 minus money. But those are 3 more. So the ones we like overs initially: Ball State, Boise State, Arizona State, Fresno State, Georgia, Jacksonville State, Navy, North Carolina State, Nevada, and then today we added Oregon State, Rice, and Rutgers. Unders, I'll throw 4 new ones. Oklahoma State, it's 6.5. I got them 5-7 at best, at absolute best, and I think this could really be a 3-9, 2-10 year. They lost everybody. Head coach is gone. That situation is just a mess. For a long time, that was good, but not anymore. I'll go under 7.5 ODU, Old Dominion. I think they're going to go 5-7. 8-4 is a really good year. Don't see it. I'll grab under 7.5 Pittsburgh. I think the Panthers go 5-7 at best. And I'll go under 4.5 San Jose State. I got them at 2-10. They were awful last year, and I think they're going to be awful again this year. So we're adding Oklahoma State, Old Dominion, Pittsburgh, San Jose State to our already list of Air Force, Charlotte, Florida State, Georgia State, Kansas State, Memphis, Michigan, North Carolina, and Northwestern. So I'll probably end up playing them all, but I won't ask you guys to. I'll whittle it down for you. We have how many overs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 12 overs. And unders 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. How about that? I did not plan it out that way. It just worked out that way. So it's almost dead even. 12 overs and 13 unders. So out of those 25, I'll try and whittle it down to 15 major ones. Maybe we'll do 4 or 5, top ones here. And then if you want more, you can always join the podcast over on Patreon, Scott Wetzel Show, same thing. And we'll throw out some more picks or go to the website and sign up for the premium picks. Same price, same everything there. So, but we'll get those down to about 5 or 6 or so. I tend to like the unders more than the overs. Why? I just don't think that, you don't really have that many upsets in college football. You really don't. Most teams, you can pick 8 of their games, and then it boils down to the final 4, right? No matter who you're talking about, unless it's Ohio State or Georgia or one of those, there's going to be 4 wins they're going to get, barring a crazy thing. And there's going to be 4 losses they're going to get, barring a crazy thing. You're really betting on those other 4 games. And again, I take the bad teams. There's a lot more bad teams. Air Force, Charlotte, Florida State, Georgia State, Oklahoma State, San Jose State, Pittsburgh. It's rare for those teams to pull a surprise and win. A bad team, is going to do what they do. And that's a good team. They could get upset, by a halfway decent team as well. That I think happens, a little bit more often than a bad team pulling off a major upset. That they just don't. They really don't. You could be wrong on a bad team, but you're going to be wrong on them because they go 8-4, and you're thinking they're 4-8, and they just got a bunch of transfers, and that tends to work out. It's rare when you think a team's going to go 8-4 and they end up 5-7. It just, it doesn't happen. So we'll whittle those down, and we'll get them down to about 4 or 5 for the show. So WNBA, Michael Grant, basically just saying WNBA stinks. So okay, we get that. Any other tweets to get to? Let me check the Twitter board and the storyboard. Any late breaking stories? Jeannie Buss apparently out, with the new Laker deal, which I'm not surprised with. Sooner or later, I figured she had to go. They had to kick her out. We didn't get really into the AP poll. Really no big deal. But Ohio State is number 1 in the AP poll. Oregon is number 2. Georgia 3. Notre Dame 4. I tell you, I don't know if they've looked at the schedule, what they base their votes on, but we touched on it. This Ohio State schedule is brutal. The quarterback last year saying, he was okay. He's got to make some serious strides to carry that team. I mean, I know they're a good team, but in the end, are they going to get into the playoffs and win? They could, which would justify them being number one. But at Texas, at Iowa, it's not easy. At Indiana, at USC, even at Nebraska is tough. Then they got home games against Oregon and an improving Illinois team and Michigan, which even if Michigan is bad, can beat them. I mean, that's 8 really tough games. I don't think they're going to be number one throughout the season. They lose to Texas, and they'll drop to 3 or 4. And that'll be the end of number one because Notre Dame and some of these teams aren't losing. Indiana's not losing. You look at Indiana's schedule. I just named 9 teams real quickly, right, from Indiana, from Ohio State's schedule. Indiana has their non-conference schedule is a complete joke. North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky. Then they got Northwestern at home, not losing. Rutgers not losing. At Nebraska, okay. Then they got Ohio State, but at home. And then Michigan, that's their gauntlet. Minnesota, not losing. USC at home, not losing. At Wisconsin, not losing. Purdue, not losing. It's just so much easier. So much easier. So, but Ohio State for now is number one. I don't know how you can't put the defending champs number one, but they decided not to. All right, we will leave you with this. So I love these. Again, is it true or not true? You know what? It doesn't matter. They put it together so well that it really doesn't even matter if it's AI. It really doesn't. I'll believe it is true.
That is, if you can provide yourself with food, and again, they're ice fishing because everything is frozen, and you're looking for fat in the beaver.
Yeah,
the beaver is the beaver is the most sought after.
It is.
Ryan, do you think you could eat beaver?
Are you serious?
It's fat and then it's meat.
It made them all sick, though. They all got sick after it.
Well, you can't eat diseased animals.
Oh, God.
What about a moose?
Yeah, I don't know anything about this show,
Okay.
Gina, but you're really funny.
Okay.
You are a really funny gal.
That is if you can provide yourself with food.
See that again, right?
And again, they're ice fishing because everything is frozen, and you're looking for fat in the beaver.
Yeah,
the beaver is the beaver is the most sought after.
It is.
Ryan, do you think you could eat beaver? It's fat and then it's meat.
It made them all sick, though. They all got sick after it.
Well,
the other guy's trying to help her out.
You can't eat diseased animals.
She's still asking questions.
Oh, God.
What about a moose?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's 100% real, Scott, by the way. 100% real. Yes.
Yeah,
that actually happened.
You looked it up or
Yeah,
someone?
yeah.
Wow. Like she had no idea, Tim. Tim, my
Clueless.
producer.
Clueless.
She'd be like my wife. That would be my wife. Just completely like she'd keep on firing away. Really, does it taste any good? You need to have a drink with it. She would just be not knowing what the hell she was saying. Oh my goodness, is that funny? That is the reaction, right? Then you got the guy in the middle. He's trying to talking about the other thing, moose and different things, like trying to steer the question to the more serious angle of it. And the poor guy's just breaking up laughing. How great is that? So that is real. All right, cool. I like that. I like that. So good job by the tweeters, emailers as well. And then the YouTube chat again. Don't forget, folks, a lot of people watching on YouTube need you to hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. It's nice. You grab the mouse. It'll pretend it's a beaver mouse and just slide it over on that subscribe and just click and then boom. there you go. No harm, no foul. Doesn't cost you anything, but we do like that. So anyway, good job by all the stories today. We'll take a look. We'll finish up the college football over-unders. More NFL. We'll preview what's going on this weekend in the NFL. More games on Thursday. Full slate of baseball as well. And hopefully the Red Sox win tonight. Hope we have something good to talk about tomorrow. So enjoy the rest of your Monday, folks. Go to fanstreamsports.com for all the other shows, fanstreamsports.com. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on FanStream Sports.